When you hear authors like Holly Jackson or maybe myself say that we outline our books, you're probably wondering why do that? Why not just jump straight into the writing process? And I can tell you why, and it's actually very important, especially if you're a first time author. Hello, my name is Madison Hall, and I'm the author of this novel, The Ruined Royals, which is a clean YA fantasy. And it took me about 3 years to write, and I'm going to tell you guys, without this entire podcast, from episode to episode, the things I did wrong, so that way you can get it right. Because I feel like when one author slips up, we can tell new authors what to do so they don't make the same slip as us. I would love for you guys to have smooth sailing with writing, publishing, editing, and all of the things. So that's why I created this podcast in hopes that I could help you. Now, what is the importance of outlining, or what even is outlining? Outlining is where you do chapter by chapter and write a brief description on what you want to happen in the chapter under each chapter note. You see all these notebooks I have here? Most of them are used for outlining because while I do like to outline on my computer, I try to have them in physical notebooks because it's really easy to get logged out of stuff, but I like to have them in both because what if you get logged out of something? What if you lose a notebook? You have both sets. So one is like a fallback plan. To the second question, what is the importance of outlining? When you're writing a book, one of the most difficult parts is writing a story and you don't know the direction it's going in, which is why outlining is one of the most important parts. Because when you outline your book, you know where you want it to go. If you have a steady plan, you have a steady mindset, and you already know what you want your characters to do, what actions want to be taken, and all the other good stuff, it makes your story so much more smooth. People say that they hit writer's block because they don't know what happens in the next chapter. Well, you hit writer's block only once, and that is when you're outlining it. Because when you start writing it, the only time you will ever stop writing is maybe because you're in a writing slump, or maybe because you've lost inspiration and you need to freaking it back for a break, which is totally fine. But very rarely, when you have an outline, do you actually lose track of what you're doing and get confused with your own story. Because you have an outline to stick to, it's 10 times easier. Do you have to stick to this outlining? I personally stick to mine, but I will sometimes change it up. Remove a chapter, add a chapter, do something different from the outline. The outline is just to give you a basic sense of what you want to happen. It is your story. Do what you want, how you want to do it. How do you outline your book? Well, I already kind of told you guys, but I want to show you. This right here is what I'm currently using to outline my current project, Her Siren Song, and I'm going to show you guys how I outline. So in this case, I'm going to hold it away, but you guys can see the chapters usually appear and then a quick summary of what I want to happen in each chapter. If I want to change stuff, I use a sticky note to kind of explain the fact that I did want it changed, that I have outlines on all the pages, and all of the above. Now, when you outline, like I said, it makes your story smooth sailing, but you are not entitled to stick to the outline. You wrote the outline, it is your story. Do what you please. It is quite literally your book, and you're writing it your way. What are the other benefits of outlining? We already talked about the fact that you will likely not hit writer's block, but what are the other benefits? For me, I find that it's very accomplishing when I outline my full book because when I actually go on to write, like I already said before, smooth sailing, but also I know what direction I'm headed in. When you have outlined your book fully, you're kind of just going chapter by chapter and applying it to your story, if that makes sense. Which leads me to my next point. How do you apply it to your story? So, let's take an outline here. I'm not going to say the actual outline, but let's say I'm in my notebook and we're going off this one. And this one says that, I can't use my characters' names because all this is top secret, but let's just say me. Okay. Let's say that Maddie wants to go to the ice cream shop, but a burglar comes up. All you have to do is take that theme or take that central idea and turn it into dialogue, to monologues, to directories, to expressions, emotions. That's all you have to do. So Maddie goes to the ice cream shop and she gets robbed by a burglar. Okay, then we can write our dialogue. Oh, I was walking into the ice cream shop and I wanted vanilla and chocolate together. And this burglar comes out of nowhere and he grabs my purse and this and that. And I screamed in terror and screamed, "What are you doing?" That's all. You're basically just taking this summary that you put for yourself beforehand and turning it into the story. You're applying it, you're making it the actual story that is able to be read and understood by the readers, okay? Is there a specific way to outline? Girl, no. We all have our different ways of telling a story. For me, I like to just outline with an actual summary. For other people, they like to bullet point things that they want to happen with no clear, concise path of what they want to happen in that chapter. It's really up to what you're able to understand and what you're able to comprehend because nobody else is going to be looking at your outline but you. Unless you're like looking like an editor or something and they're looking at what you had in mind when they're editing your book or they're doing stuff towards your book because they kind of have to understand your mindset and your thought processing when they are reading your manuscript. Your outline could be drawings for all I care. Drawings of how you want it to go, little scenes, fun little sketches, skits. Your outline could be videos that you've made and edited yourself so that way you can watch each and every video yourself when you're going to make that new chapter and you're like, okay, this is what I want to happen, so I'm going to act it out for myself to watch later on. That is what your outline can be. Your outline is not limited to a notebook or a computer. Your outline is not limited to a sticky note on your wall and a pen and paper in your hand. Okay? Maybe Holly Jackson likes to do sticky notes and plaster them across her bedroom while she writes. Maybe I like to put my outlines and summaries in notebooks and my computer, but somebody else might like to make skits out of their outlines and watch the skits. Somebody likes to make voice memos and listen to the voice memos as they write their book, okay? You're not limited to doing just one thing when it comes to outlining your story. You have so much potential, ideas, and things that you can do instead of just sticking to one societal norm. There is a lot you can do. Writing is supposed to be creative and a safe, expressive space to you, so use that and not just your writing, but also your outlining. Are you required to outline your book before writing it? Once again, no. This is completely optional, but this episode was for anybody who's interested in outlining or wants to know the reason behind why authors like me or Holly Jackson like to outline our books before going into them and writing our actual works. You are not required to do anything when it comes to your book besides get it properly edited, sweetheart. You don't even have to do that. I mean, it's like I would recommend it very highly because it probably won't turn out the way you expected it to if you don't get it edited, but it's your book. Nobody cares, okay? It's your manuscript, your idea, your story. You decide what goes on in it. Outlining is something to make your life simpler and easier, but it's nothing, not by a long shot, required of you as an author. As an author, your job is to make writing easier for you, but also make it comprehensible for the readers of your story. Maybe you're not even publishing it. Maybe it's just a story for you, but you still want to have a clear, concise path that you want to go into. Outlining may not be for everyone. It's not for everyone, and it might just be something you're curious and dabbling in and you want to experiment with it, but it's not always going to be everybody's cup of tea. It wasn't my cup of tea starting out, but I started using it because it made my life a lot easier. I didn't outline The Ruined Worlds, but The Ruined Worlds still has good reviews. It was still published, it was still written, it was still made, it was still edited. It went through every single part of the publishing process, and the book exists. It's here, okay? The book is here. This is my copyright page. Did I outline The Ruined Royals? No. Am I outlining my other projects? Yes. And does that mean they're taking a bit longer than The Ruined Royals did? Because I'm writing some of these for 4 years because I've been outlining them, and this has been for 3 years because, okay, this may sound confusing because this took 3 years to write, but when I was writing another book, I was outlining it, but I was like, I put a pause on it because I didn't like the outlining aspect and I went without outlining, and that's how this became to be. But I'm going back to those stories that were outlined and finishing the outlines, which means that some of them are taking longer because, yeah, sometimes outlining and then making a story are two different things that take hours and days and weeks and months and years of your time. But to me, it's worth it to outline your book and then make it. But does that mean it's not going to be a good book if you don't outline it? That's not what I'm saying, because once again, this book was outlined. This book was not outlined. It was published. It was edited. It has its own copyright page. It's promoted on social medias. People have read my book. People have held my books. I've had book signings. I've had people tag me in posts with their books. People have left good reviews. People have left bad reviews. I mean, that's just the whole thing with being an author. You outlining your book is not going to determine if it's a good book or it's a bad book. What really determines if your book is a good book or a bad book is the substance, the plot, the editing, the words. That's what matters. Your thoughts, your idea that you have for this book is not dependent on an outline, but is it a good way to kind of get your thoughts out there beforehand? Yes, but is anybody going to come to your house and knock on your door and punish you if you don't outline your book? No, most authors don't outline their stories, and they are still world renowned published authors. Okay, people love their books, but they were never outlined. But people also love books. For example, Holly Jackson, A Girl's Guide to Murder, Five Survive, all outline novels, but they are still world renowned and loved by people across the globe, okay? Holly Jackson was training in the US and she's from the UK. So, you outlining your book or not outlining your book is not going to determine your popularity, your fame, or how good your story comes out because at the end of the day, that's all that matters how your story comes out if it's what you wanted. So, your outline is not what your story is depending on. Your story is depending on you. But I did make this episode, like I said before, for people who are curious and dabbling in it, experimenting in it, or maybe already outlined but don't see the full point in it and you want to kind of see what other people see. Or maybe you don't outline, but you also want to see what other authors see when they're outlining. So that was the purpose of this episode. With that being said, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Made Out Kisses. Well, I do have an Instagram. I have two Instagrams. I have my business Instagram. I have my book Instagram where I promote my books. And then I also have my Depop where I'm selling signed copies of my book, but also some old books if you guys would like to help a girl out. Signed copies of my book are available on my Etsy down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Notifications so you guys never ever miss a video. And I'll see you guys next time. Love you so much and goodbye.